Hallie Balkin here, and welcome to this episode of Little Sprout Speech TV. Grab your pen and paper because today Lily and I are doing part 2 of our 3-part IEP meeting video series, and we wanted to talk about what you can do to prepare yourself for during the IEP meeting, how you can be prepared for that portion of it. So in our first video, we talked about what to do for before the meeting, and now we're talking about during the meeting. The next video we'll talk about after the meeting. So 3 things that you can do during an IEP meeting to help you feel like you're getting your concerns and needs and wants for your child met are the following. Tip number 1 is I want you to find a way to personalize your child. What does that mean? I want you to tell stories about your child. I want you to talk about your child with their strengths and talk about how maybe you use some of their strengths at home to build on some of the struggles they have. Draw a picture and keep in mind that sometimes there are people sitting in the meeting who haven't met your child. So the more that you can personalize them and make them seem like a real person and not just a kid on a piece of paper in front of them, the better off the meeting will be. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to bring somebody with you that you trust. Now, I know a lot of people can't afford an educational advocate. They can't afford to pay private therapists to come with them. They can't afford for their husband to take off of work. But maybe you have a friend, or maybe there's another mom with a child who has a child with autism, for example, who would love to attend with you because she wants to be a support system during that meeting, and then maybe you can do the same for her. So find somebody that you trust and someone who will sit next to you at the meeting, because if it's just you going in, that can be very intimidating. And if you feel more confident sitting at that table because you have somebody next to you, even if they don't speak and even if they're not there to actually advocate for your child, they're there to support you, it can actually lead to a much more positive meeting and much more beneficial meeting for your child, because that may be all you need to help give you that push to speak up because someone else is sitting there next to you. So bring somebody with you trust. Tip number 3 is ask questions. Please, please, please do not hesitate to ask questions. You as the parent are part of this IEP team. Just as important of a part as the therapist, the teacher, the principal, any other administrator, psychologist, whoever may be sitting at the table, you are just as important, if not most important, because this is your child. So it's your job to advocate for them, which but part of that advocating for them is asking questions, especially if somebody says something that either one doesn't make sense to you, or they speak in terms that don't make sense, because sometimes as therapists we forget and we use our fancy jargon, and we forget that parents sitting across from the table didn't go to grad school with us, so you have no clue what we're talking about. And chances are, if you don't know, then some of the other people at the table don't know either. It's not just you. So speak up and ask questions and make sure that you leave that IEP meeting feeling satisfied, like you had everything answered that you needed answered. Let's review our 3 tips. So our 3 tips for what you can do during the meeting for a successful IEP meeting are: 1, personalize your child, right? Tell stories about them, make them seem like a real person, not just some kid on a piece of paper. Number 2, bring somebody with you who can help support you at that meeting, even if they just sit there in silence. And tip number 3 is to ask questions and make sure you get those questions answered. I hope these tips are helpful. I look forward to talking to you guys same time, same place next week. This is Hallie Balkin signing off.